Oke, selamat siang. Kembali lagi di Open Talk di series 4.2. Kita akan masuk ke sesi pertama dari kedua pembicara pada siang hari ini. Dia adalah Ming Zhou. Dan untuk informasi, materi ini akan dibawakan dalam bahasa Inggris. Jadi mungkin bisa nanti menyalakan subtitle ataupun menyalakan caption yang ada di opsi di bawah layar webinar Anda. Baik, saya akan tegur sapa dulu. Hai Ming.
Hi, how are you guys?
Hi.
Ryan.
Nice to meet you again. And how's the condition in Shanghai?
Good and bad question.
Straight question.
I think we're okay. We're getting used to being locked down. We cannot leave our apartments, so hopefully we can go out soon. I've been locked down for a month and a half, 6 weeks in my apartment. Yeah, so
So you just stay at home and you can do like for working or something, or just but you can stay you still can buy food and or beverage in outside your apartment.
no, we cannot leave our apartment.
Okay.
Basically, we are we are tutup in our apartment. Yeah, I'm sure you guys have saw the news about this. It's quite a headlines.
Yeah. Okay, I will introduce you first, and then you can start your share screen. And okay, Ming Zhou. Ming Zhou is a founding partner, Enviro Creative, and managing director, Enviro Asia. Born in Singapore and graduated in Bachelor of Architecture from University of Western Australia, Perth. Ming was nominated for several Architecture Design Awards and awarded the Best Graduation Prize from Woods Bagot, one of the top Australian architecture firm. After a year working at Woods Bagot, Perth, Ming back to Envirotech in Jakarta, and she developed mixed-use development Sahid Kuta Lifestyle Resort, or SKLR Beachwalk Bali, consisting of Sheraton Bali Kuta Resort and an air gardens rice field inspired open retail lifestyle mall, which had high recommendation in World Architecture Festival in 2008. In 2022, Phase 2 of SKLR was awarded Best Mixed-Use Architectural Design in Indonesia and Asia. She also member Royal Australian Institute of Architects, RAIA, since 2003. Okay, Ming based in China since 2017. Ming stepped up the design game to deliver result and injecting new identity to the brand Orange Hotel. She handled mostly which one of China Top Hotel Group, Huazhu Hotels Group Ltd. Okay, I think if I read everything. Your session, it will be closed just for me. So, Ming, you can start your session and you can start your share screen.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Thanks, Anabata, for inviting me once again. So basically, today the topic is, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see.
All right, so well, the topic is on green and sustainable buildings, but I choose to look maybe in sustainability in a different way. So the first thing that came to my mind was the lime green color, because I think in the midst of COVID and all these very challenging times, especially for designers, I think we ought to change mindsets and look at things in a different way. So this is a nuclear cell. I believe that as design, it works together. It cannot be silo. It has to multiply and grow. But at certain moments, you can detach away from the togetherness. So just a little bit of synopsis about Envirotech. Envirotech is a 50-year-old company. It's actually our 50th anniversary this year. So it started by the founder in 1972. And then in 2020, we started a branch in China, Shanghai, which is predominantly focusing on creative works and strategy. So I mean, to break it down very simply, Envirotech is environment and technology, and we focus a lot on the human design and experience. So our value creation, I think it's quite an important word. Every company has their own way of valuing design, but the way we see things is a very incremental way. So we have the flow and logic, we provide solution strategy, but in the middle, we always strive to have a balance between diversity and being bold. In all our designs, we try to create something that is of a value and something that can emotionally engage with the audience and the consumers. So ultimately, what we're looking at is a human experience, but also enhancing future loyalty. So you have a lot of process and a lot of diversity in between. So our creative system is three things: observe, relevance, and presence, which I will talk quite a lot about in regards to what is green and what is sustainability. Because often green is such a general and such a big word, and everyone is trying to, I guess, do some green design in the end. But the ultimate, I think, value is to create something that you can take away as a designer or even as a person that experiences a space. So what is the value of creation, and what does creation brings about of value? So COVID is indeed a very challenging time. Even right now, it's not ending. So I think let's take some positive notes away from it. We had a lot of iterations about these 2 years, and I would like to share a little bit about how we approach design and the idea of ideation and positioning of design in quite a different way. So in the middle, we have our design approach, and in order to implement our design, we have to incubate and we have to test results, and it has to evolve with times. I think this is quite necessary as a designer. So the main point to attain is actually the experience in the end. Then on the left side, we have all your partners, all your strategic relationships, whether it's your clients, your vendors, your friends or different consultants, to co-create the whole process. So if you see the entire circle of this cell or this life, it's all binded together. So then we can preserve this relationship for a very sustainable future. So when design is, what is the design perceived value for each of the design work that you have output? So I feel like a lot of things that we have done these days, with COVID, a lot of people's life has changed, attitudes have changed. So the entire value of what is created has to be kind of emotionally engaged with a few points. Understanding of your influences, what is the subculture right now. A very big thing is how do you communicate the big idea? What's the design communication? And a lot of us have been using a lot of data and technology. So how do we balance this? And something that I touched on just now, evolve and mutate. How do you cross boundaries and how do you be bold? It doesn't have to be a very big gesture. It could be a very, very small gesture, but it could actually enhance the experience on the right here. So your vision and growth and the entire idea of the value has to go with every project you do, which gets better and better. And the most important thing is how do you actually implement the idea, the design, and be very practical about it in terms of cost, budget, economics, and ultimately, who is going to adopt your idea? Is it the consumers? Is the consumers going to buy this value? So I say that I'd like to touch more on the idea of social sustainability. I think that's the new green. So we have the very basic, the old world, the pre-COVID, we have the materials, the design, your systems, your engineering, your usage functions. Yeah, we call that green. But then what is the new social sustainability? It's all about people. It's all about the co-togetherness and the co-system that could fulfill you. Is it happiness? Is it within reach? Is it convenience? So this is something quite, I guess, intangible. It's quite spiritual in some sense. So you got to back it up with a lot of infrastructure. And these days, we don't even just work in a single country. Like I'm based in Shanghai. My team is based in Jakarta, and we have people in Singapore. So it's really like cross travel. How do you make this global mobility actually work? So partnerships are very important. People you trust, people you bridge relationships with. So I think that is kind of like the new world kind of sustainability. So today I'll touch on three interesting projects. One is already recently completed, which is the Sahid Kuta Lifestyle Resort Beach Walk, which is the island oasis. And then we'll touch on a currently ongoing project going to construction very soon, which is the Urban Oasis. It's a private residence for a young family in Jakarta. And then last one, I'll just give a little bit of teaser of what we're doing in China, which is the Desert Oasis, which consists of a cultural library and also a boutique hotel. So I took this shot yesterday over Google Maps. It's quite interesting how Bali is actually quite dense. If you look at this, it's in Kuta. This is where our project is right in the middle here. It has made an imprint, a footprint in the world. So I think having said that, this project lasted for 10 years. We started the first phase, which is this small one, in 2009. And then the second phase, which is this little bit behind here, the connecting point, we completed last year. So without looking back at too much at this is the phase one, this is the phase two, which is directly behind phase one. The connection between the two development is actually very important to understand the history and how it came about. Because we created two types of oasis, bringing the entire energy and experience. So the center of the space becomes a very important breakout area, but it also maintains a visual connection between the two properties. So this is, I don't know if anybody has been to this site, it's the old Harris Hotel behind. So what we have done is, together with the developer, we actually increased the GFA, which currently has 3 blocks of hotels and a continuous podium of retail going across this way. So this is the new phase 2. It's a very simple design in terms of its look, its aesthetic. It's as natural and as local as we can try to be. And it's a kind of like a squarish kind of shape. But what we have created in the first beach walk is an open oasis, but in the second oasis is actually a very quiet oasis. It's an internal oasis because it's not directly facing the beach. So how do we create another kind of experience that is slightly different from the phase 1, but then it retains something magical in phase 2. We have to look at the relationships, as I say, the social sustainability of this project. It couldn't happen without our partners, the 3 operators, hotel operators, A-Love, Residence Beach Walk, and Yellow Hotel, and of course our client, Beach Walk Bali, and also very, very important sustainable vendors, BioLiving and XTV that we work with, which I'll explain a little bit more. So that goes actually this way. So the entire graphs goes up to the ultimate human experience. With that, we have the center of experience where you have all the content. How do we create and curate all the shops, bring local tenants into Beach Walk? You'll be very surprised in Beach Walk 2, phase 2, most of the tenants are actually local vendors. So we're very happy that the marketing has shifted their target towards creating more opportunities for the local people. And also in design, some of our touch point is looking at the oasis in more like an internalized design. And we have created another garden podium on the second level, and the green belt that actually continuously join between the first phase and the second phase. And of course, as I mentioned, that the brand is creating an eco-friendly design, but not exceptionally, purposely making it this way. So how do we actually create a story through the brand, through the original Beachwalk one, which was so successful? So these are some of our concepts where we came up this entire mood board, if you like, the direction and the positioning of Beachwalk 2. So these are some of the colors that were from the word Beachwalk. So we look a lot at the creative strategy of how to create a design, not just as a functional element, but actually something very experiential. So I'm going to touch on 4 points for this project. The quiet oasis, which is right in the middle of the entire development. The growing vertical green that grows upwards. So it spreads horizontally, but then it grows upwards. Some of the natural materials, almost all locally sourced and on budget. So talking about economics and scale. And lastly, not forgetting all the MEP systems at the rooftop, where we created a sky jogging ring to link the 3 blocks of buildings together. So the challenging thing about this project is not only the design of the retail podium, but actually how do we manage 3 different operators in such a small super mixed development. This is actually very, very challenging. So we have to deal with the marketing requirements of the square areas of the shops, but at the same time, we also have to think about all the views and visual from the 3 different blocks, but maintaining the aesthetics as one development. So then we came, okay, the center must be the heart of experience. How do we link from the phase 1 back to this center core? It has to be something that is proportionate to the entire void, because it's actually still quite a tight space. We also then thought, why don't we then continue the entire garden podium as a shared sky garden for the 3 properties, and each of them still maintain its individual aesthetics through the usages and the implementation of different gardens, different colors, and different type of foliages, if you like. So the facade, the green facade, represents the brand of the property for each of the 3 operators. So if you look at this, there's actually Aloft Hotel on the L side. There's Yellow Hotel. So Aloft is kind of like an urban kind of a city hotel by Marriott, and Yellow is a local by Torzia. And then Beachwalk Residence is a 36 units, boutique units, which is managed by the client. So this is a very interesting infrastructure we have, and yet we have a huge openness in the middle. So because these units are not able to look at the beach directly, so we had to create an internal view and internal beauty for these units above. So the chi is actually very simple. It's actually an organic shade of like a kind of, we wanted to create like an island, a beach kind of vibe with the tenants all surrounding it. So then a lot of the alfresco spaces become rentable areas. And then the blocks of the podium actually lifts up above the podium. And so it's then connected by these bridges. If you see, all these are connected through bridges. So each of them can be actually sanctioned off and operated by the individual operators. Almost all of them have a clear view of the oasis. The ones on the outside have a garden view of the edges, on the edges. So this is kind of like a section that we created. So the flow has to move this way, and then the green moves this way up. So this is kind of another view of the area. So you can see the connection back in this way to the beach. And then some of the construction photos during construction. This project was very challenging because halfway through, COVID happened. I was stuck in China, the team was stuck in Jakarta, nobody could go to the site, so we had to really move very quickly through online communication, setting up all the design workflow, and we actually managed to do it quite well. So we are quite glad, thanks to the support of the team on site. So the second point I want to touch on is the growing facade. So the three facades, as I mentioned, A-Loft, Beach Walk, and Yellow, had actually all three different types of accents, but they are actually joined by this green belt. So for example, A-Loft, it was distinct with a very cute pink, kind of like a stained pink concrete that we did because we wanted to use very raw materials. It had to have kind of like a raw luxury kind of feel. So we wanted to challenge ourselves to actually use something that is raw but kind of still creating a very natural kind of aesthetic. For beachfront residents, we focus a lot on the slated timber with very deep balconies because in Bali, it's very, very humid noontime. Also very big rain. So we had to think a lot about privacy, screenage, and you can actually see, you can't see any aircon units on the facade at all because we hid everything away. And the Yellow Hotel, distinctly, we use the word yellow. It's yellow color to create this kind of like facade distinction. So A-Loft was very interesting because when we started the project, A-Loft is branded as a city hotel. So how does a city hotel work in a context like Bali? It's tropical. So then we thought, okay, let's just go all the green facade. We had a lot of bit of discussion with A-Loft, creating the brand for that whole green thing. But then we also wanted to make sure that as an entire facade, it breathes very nicely with this green belt. So we did a lot of facade treatment study, staining of all these mock-ups were actually done and selected via WhatsApp, Zoom calls. Very challenging times during COVID to get all these things, all the mock-ups checked, and vice versa. So the whole idea was having a very personal balcony. It's almost like an extension of your living area, if you like. So the hotel rooms actually look even bigger than it is. So these are, recently it's launched. I think last week it opened, so everyone can go visit. This is a night view. So we had a little of this, it's restaurant jutting out right here, looking over the oasis. And then these are all the green growing out. Yellow Hotel is using this sort of mother of tongue plant, which has this slight yellow color. So we wanted to use plants that were very specific of certain colors and certain kind of imagery to represent the facades. So this is a very nice morning view if you sit around the oasis looking back at the facade. We play a lot with the same materiality. If you see, it's actually concrete blocks. Perforated. We took a lot of references from the checkered pattern from the Balinese tradition patterns, very, very simple. But we wanted to create kind of like a screening for the MEP, the aircon diffusers, aircon units, but also kind of like a shading, if you like, a shading device, and then the green just grows very beautifully over it. So this is a picture of the green growing during, I think it was last year, and this is kind of like a private corner looking back at all the terracotta roof tiles in the back of Poppy Lanes in Kuta. And these are other views of showing the open design, natural ventilated, no aircon in all the corridors. Clients really accepted that. So we had a lot of support from the clients and our operators to make this work. And even this using the pool as an element to actually naturally ventilate and naturally cool down the space. So these are just some iterations of what we did for the perforations. So if you can see, actually all the three facades have the same kind of materiality, but we just play with a different pattern aesthetics. The last one I'll talk about is the openness and natural materiality. Openness is a very big part of beachwalk design. This is just a palette of all the materials we try to put together, from the residence to the general architecture materials to the site bricks for us to check. And then this is the fake grass that we're using. So this, I remember this very clearly because they had to let me approve it through WhatsApp. So I told them to put it against the natural grass just to have a look at the difference. So we have to think of ways to make things work. We have to think of ways how to sustain relationships with clients and project, to implement on the site. Mock-ups for the counter, for the terrazzos. And then this is a very beautiful picture of a naturally ventilated, naturally lit space, because it's a very deep space. So we created this sort of a waffle slab with a natural light coming through the space. So I would say the usages of light in the mall is actually quite little in the morning, save a lot of electricity. I want to touch on two very interesting partners that we work a lot with in our projects, because we, as Envirotech, really strives to look for different types of materials. We like to develop and innovate with people with the same vision. So BioLiving is one of our partners in this project, and we had a very good team and supporting us throughout COVID to get this oasis, this very important stage done. They are focusing on recycled material, recycled plastic, recycled into beautiful hand-weave rattan panels. We had a lot of discussion with the team on site, going through how to actually not just putting the panels, but actually inserting in a way that it creates a kind of like structural beauty, if you like, including the steel structure. And then at night, it becomes like a glowing accent. So these are just pictures during in the construction period. It's a very almost like a very light spaceship-like kind of structure, if you like. These are more pictures of the nighttime and then the daytime, and you could see that it's really just a beautiful structure by itself. And we are going to focus. This is a stage place where a lot of performances, a lot of display are going to be used, and it's for the people. The second material I'd like to actually touch on is the whole idea of sustainability. It doesn't mean just using a recycled material, but actually how we are able to meet it in a budget. XTD material was a very interesting material we used. It's actually from China. So we managed to convince a client because of cost as well. We met Mr. Wong. He's this crazy Singaporean that decided to create this very, very cool product. It's from recycled waste. It's a straw that is thrown away in Jiangsu in China. And he actually worked with the government and local people to collect all the waste and compress and make it into straw boards. So when I first met Mr. Wong in his office here in Singapore, we found that actually the material has great potential. It's how you actually picked out a very, very raw material and we made it into a decorative ceiling panel for Beach Walk Bali. So the entire product is 99% non-formaldehyde, which is a great selling point for the mall. It's non-toxic, it's recyclable, and this is actually the real mock-up in his factory in Jiangsu. And we actually went to have a look at it. And then during COVID, he sent all the panels out into Bali, and we managed to install it on site. So you can see all these are prefabricated panels. We had to do many, many iterations of the paneling, and there was a two-tone kind of panels. So this was actually the installation, the checking of the alignment, and installing the LED panels. So it was a huge challenge, and I think this is a very successful way of working cross countries, even for trade. Something for designers to think about, to step out of your boundaries, to use materials that you never used before, you never tested, and bam, this is how it looks like right now. Bring your kids there. It's 99% non-formaldehyde. It's beautiful. It's it lasts a long time, good with beach condition. So this is something we really engineered for this project. These are just some videos I wanted to share of the different moments in Beach Walk during progress, during completion. Unfortunately, I haven't been to the site. All these are true visuals, but people who have visited it gave very, very good comments. I'm very happy it's for a total for a human experience, and hopefully I can get to visit it soon enough. Yeah, so this ceiling can see here are all the panels, the straw-board panels that we used over there. Yeah. And then before I end this project, I wanted to just show you, because it's such a big project, it was quite difficult to get everything in. So I actually looked through my WhatsApp message for 4 years, and then I just wanted you guys to understand that the process is the sustainable way of doing things. The research, the development, the different irritations, the different processes that we went through with different people, with different teams, going back and forth, everything was done through online communication. It was quite an amazing experience. All the references and hand sketches that we made, it was quite a lot. And also testing on 3Ds, sketching over it, testing the proportions, getting contractors to do up mock-ups, and all the facades treatment that we created as well. So all this was just, I thought it was just fun to show how we did all the process, because these are the stuff that people don't see. It's behind the scenes. Everybody just sees a pretty picture, like, wow, you are in a magazine. But actually, I feel these little moments are even more important, because it's something that money can't buy. It's something that it creates even more depth and growth in design, in your business, in your language of thought, and in your thought process. Yeah. So anyway, I will, because it's an 8 minutes video, so it's actually quite long, but I wanted to show just how we managed to go through all this. So kudos to the team, kudos to the clients for trusting us on this project. So in all, I did a little summary. So the oasis becomes an oasis for all of us. The client, the operational marketing, everybody. It becomes the heart of experience for the next project in terms of the economics, the people, the context, and the bold visions that the client actually wanted to test something new for retail lifestyle. We have also to work with different operators, different stakeholders, which was very challenging. And then you really need the support and infrastructure of very trusted vendors, sharing the same vision and engineering different systems in a very budget-conscious way. All right, and then the next one is a smaller project. It's the Flow House. And for this project, we created a very interesting urban oasis. It's urban because it's right in Jakarta. It's in a very nice area near to the sea. So you get a beautiful view of the sea. I think this project for me was very personal. It came from a friend, young family, and it was through this project, I think everybody built very interesting, sustainable relationships. So again, the same thing, how do you create value through a project and co-create with your client? The trust, bridging gaps, and knowing the opportunities, working with China vendors. And this time we also work with BioLiving and a lot of other vendors like Cow Timber, Bali for the deck, and other green products that we want to work with, becomes the heart of the experience for all of us, the contractors and all of them. So then we also have to understand the relationship to get this thing done is to understand what the clients need. Houses are the most difficult thing to design because there's so many requirements. It's something personal. When it's something personal, you have to treat it as though you're building your own house. And it's actually for the young family, it's for generations, extended family. So then we had to really find the same vision kind of consultants, and very luckily the client trusted us to have consultants, very proper consultants on board to help us curate the communication to our design intention. And again, our vendors to support us. So you see, it's an oasis of life, the oasis of the system, a core system that is flowing, is the chi. That's why the entire, I think we came up with the name, the Flow House, was quite an interesting process. But first, in order to make things work, because I'm based in Shanghai, how do we actually get all parties together? Communication and workflow in a company is super important. You got to set it up. And thanks to a family who introduced this platform. This is a crazy dashboard that we have where all of us are on it. So these are all the tracking of our design work, of all our processes, the comments, and even our clients have access to this board. So we're very transparent in our working process. Maybe companies are a bit scared of that, but we thought to try something so that we could have mobility and efficiency. Of course, then we have our schedules as well for everything. So it's like a tracking board. It's like your online design board, if you like. So then we create, and then we have to adopt to times and changes. So the flow house, basically we wanted to create something that is of a new, very simple tropical luxury residential for the family. So the entire thing was, we thought like, because Jakarta is very hot as well, and definitely the family wants a pool. But then the pool can't just be a pool. The pool has to be something is of meaning. So we thought, hey, why don't we create a mid-modernist oasis in the center of the house, where then it becomes the pivot of everything else that surrounds it in terms of the design, in terms of its aesthetic, in terms of its qi and its flow. So then we created something that's like a backdrop for this pool, and the pool actually flows into the house from the outside. And because of this extension, it creates a bit of boundary from the street. So then the clients have a little bit of privacy from the interior. So the entire, showing a little video here, the entire house then overlooks this pool. From the first level to the second level where the bedrooms are, we did many little tree models to test out the proportions. Test out the entry. Right from the entry, you actually see this open courtyard that goes all the way up and then into this oasis. So it becomes a natural flow, a natural qi for the entire flow of the space, and visually it connects all levels. So it's a very open plan concept, open planning, and yet we have to maintain certain privacy. So that is the second part I will talk about, the screening of the building. So then to make things work, I think as designers we need to understand, because this project has a lot of requirements in terms of programs and it's on 3 levels. So we did a lot of user experience and program mapping. We do a lot of that in EnviroTech, and we do a lot of zonal diagrams to understand the relationships, the circulation for the entire areas before we go into actually planning. So this is kind of a process that we usually go through with mind mapping and zonal mapping. And then the idea of user journey is very important because the client is actually using the space. We have to design in terms of what they really need, in terms of usages, in terms of even from when they wake up to actually nighttime, and mapping all out in terms of the 3 levels. So every person in a family has its own personal space, and yet there's congregational and interaction spaces in the oasis itself. We also designed the interior as an indoor-outdoor space, where then it becomes an extension of the exterior. The palette of the interior is quite simple. We mainly use a lot of recycled wood for the flooring, and also engineered wood for the breath of life. And also the dining and the kitchen is actually one space as well. Creating little nooks for study. All spaces in the interior have natural light. With the back of the house actually has a 2-meter setback from the neighbor house. So we could create natural gaps and natural service area for the back of the house. So then we also engage very deep balconies, which then joins all the bedrooms between the kids and the parents. And also we have to think a little bit of privacy. So these are actually natural synthetic rattan panels that we work with BioLiving as kind of like a sun shading, but also as privacy screens. So then it brings me to a very big part of our design is on the facade and on the systems. So the facade and the trellis system was something we really looked into, working together with the aluminum glass works, the composite structure of the profiling of the concrete canopies. These were hand-drawn by our managing director, which was given to the structure engineer. So you see, the core system is not looking at design in a very silo way. The core system is an entire core ecosystem of a composite design, structure, MEP, engineer, facade works, and even the green. So it has to be looked in a holistic way in order to create something that is practical, of cost conscious. So we have to look at every nook and cranny of every detail. Of course, this is tiring. It's not easy, but it's something that I think is needed in order to have a good outcome. And also a very big part was to actually test out not only on 3D, but this is something my colleague took for me, testing out the patterns and the sun shading of different patterns from bio. This was actually all through WhatsApp. So it was quite amazing how all these were done through just online communications. And then the rattan panel itself is actually a prefabricated, detachable, engineered system that hooks onto the aluminum facade panel. And then more drawings, more details, understanding the different levels, even the drainage profile of the green. So the green also becomes a very important part of the entire facade because green then cools down the space, but it also becomes drainage points for rain because in Jakarta, rainfall is very heavy. So all the perimeters that you see here are not just green, they're actually overflow drainage system for the entire house, including the pool deck areas. It's a entire huge drainage pool, if you like. So the study of the type of foliages, the type of green that grows against the facade, and they become actually, if you like, handrails. It's like a very soft barrier, and also trees that comes out and pop out of the voids that we created from the basement. And then these are more testing of the trellises that we designed, also with the bio structure. For this project was very interesting because we didn't want to use wood for the trellises. Instead, we wanted to wrap this rattan paneling across aluminum panels and then we install on site. So this was something that we are actually currently working with bio on this new system. So this is a little section. You can see it will create this very nice shadow along the stair core here. Then it brings very filtered, very nice light into the space instead of very harsh, hot light. And these are even more details that we drew for the structure to understand the capping and the cornerings of the glass and the trellises itself. So it looks like one sinuous composite element. This is something that I think a lot of people don't talk about, but I think it's really super important in creating systems that actually work for your project. We spend a lot of time not just designing the facades, but we spend a lot of time actually building out the entire on a SketchUp model because we thought the most efficient way is to not 100% get it right, but to understand how this entire composite system can actually work together. So every beam and every column was studied, and we actually will pass this to the contractor, so it will be very easy for them to understand the spaces. So this is how we work, I guess, in terms of mobility and efficiency in our company, and also a lot of superimposed studies that we make and marks and for the structure engineer that work with us. And then also a lot of iterations with the profiling because the entire house has to have a very thin look. But then we needed certain length for the sun shading as well. So all these little sketches that were done was to study the entire systems of the drainage and the structural elements. So we're not a typical firm, I guess. It's just looking at aesthetic, but really understand the beauty of a ecosystem. This is the MEP drainage. Drainage is a very important part of the house because anyone who lives in Jakarta knows there's huge problems with flooding. And especially with this site that is near to the sea, the owner was very concerned about flooding. So we actually raised the entire house 2.4 meters up above ground level. And so we could make use of this to create a lot of good drainage system. We also looked into a lot of ideas of solar panel system and also an irreversible pump system for pumping up the rainwater as grey water to water the plants. So all these consultant work has to be engaged right from schematic design. You can't wait till later part because it's part of the integral design process work. And then the last is the baking process. I feel sometimes we're like a baker. We have to like test different ingredients, put it together and hope it works. So a lot of the things that we do are material selections. All this we've done through selecting many vendors, looking at prices for the client because we had to go through the entire bill of quantity, helping the clients procure the prices. We also do a lot of design guidance in terms of design intention. So all this is just kind of process where I wanted to show how we actually deal with this sort of design intention in the company. And then more iterations and sketches. So it's a never-ending process, as I say, to get the cake right. You got to go through many layers and many tests and runs. Something that Tim Kobe said I really like, he's a very big designer on design experience. It's value creation is adoption. I think this is a very important word and something that really speaks to heart with me. This is actually many sessions of the bill of quantity with different contractors. Right now we're in the tendering stage. So we spend a lot of time in the co-creating with different partners. So I think adopting to new systems, adopting to new mindsets and working together over different countries is innovation and is ultimately the key to outcome. So this is the final kind of vision we hope we can get in a year's time. Sorry, it's my dog. So the last project, actually, I just kind of want to have a teaser for a audience that we're working on 3 very interesting projects in Inner Mongolia in China. It's what we call the Desert Oasis. So we're doing a cultural project, a library, and also a boutique hotels. So this 3 project is actually working on existing buildings. It's actually, if anybody is familiar with Ordos City, Ordos was a gold city that was built up 10 years ago by 100 architects. There was a competition for it. So these 3 particular buildings were actually buildings done by Ai Weiwei, the artist, the Chinese artist. And it was supposed to be a cultural hub. Sorry. And it's so our client actually took over these buildings and they wanted to reinvigorate the entire area. So these are actually existing concrete and brick houses, if you like, villas for hosting artists in the past. So right now we're designing a living desert, and the whole idea was how to bring the desert and Ordos back into the project itself, the experience. So just to show what we are doing right now currently, and this is the cultural library project that we are building right now in construction. The idea was to create a hall of knowledge and a walk of knowledge for the people in Inner Mongolia. And this is kind of like what we're doing is more cultural and more interesting projects that deal with natural materials. We're also collaborating with XTD, the straw bots. So basically we're going as natural as we can for this project. And all this are actually existing skylights. Sorry, my dog is going crazy. Yeah. So anyway, this is my last page for the project. So I just want to end the whole idea of a nucleus cell. Wherever we are, wherever country you are in, we're actually doing this together, the co-togetherness. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ming, for your
Sorry about my
presentation.
dog.
No problem, it's okay. I think your dog want to going out and then working in
Sick of
surrounding
the
of your
lockdown.
apartment.
I know he's like inside this oasis right now, you know, he's stuck in here. We're all stuck in here.
Okay, Ming, I hope you willing to stay until our discussion session with Pak Tateng, of course, the other speakers on the last session, and I will read the question, and after last speaker, and we can discuss it. Thank you, Ming, for your presentation.
Thank you.
And
no problem.
Thank you. And Enviro sets in the company for sustainable buildings. I mean, like a handbook for every project. 8% building power must come from wind, on sun, and something like that. Or I don't know.
No, actually, we don't have a standard handbook just for sustainable, because I feel when you talk about numbers and data, it's something quite technical. So I feel like sustainability is, you got to parts that will fit your program, requirements or standards that is usually used. Like, for example, we'll always look for a grey water system, you know, or like the lighting we will use is LED. So there's certain things that we always go for. But I think with every project, it requires a certain intuition and thinking to what kind of sustainability or design that you want to approach. Yeah.
The question is, this is the correct if a green building or sustainable building is a high maintenance. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I don't see maintenance linking to sustainability, because like what Pateteng said, it's a behavior, but more so I think with any design you do, you have to consider maintenance.
Yeah.
Be it non-sustainable or a sustainable design. So it's actually, I feel it's not very relevant. I think maybe, I think you have to look at the context of it. If it's regarding like certain facades that requires high maintenance, I think as any other buildings as well, depending on where you are, everything needs to be maintained, but depending on how you maintain it, the culture, you know, different, like in Japan, probably they are so used in maintaining things, so it's easy for them. So I think it goes down to culture as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Behavior, you know, like, in Singapore, probably it'll be well maintained, but I don't know anywhere else. So I think it's yeah. So yes, there's no. I don't think it's relevant.
Okay, I have last 10 minutes. I will go to the next question. The next question is about sustainable economic. Do you have both of you have any comment that how the strategic for make a building have a sustainable economy for the question is, jadi mungkin pertanyaannya, saya dalam bahasa mungkin Pak, pertanyaan saya coba baca, jadi saya coba mentranslate. Jadi bagaimana sebenarnya bangunan itu bisa berkelanjutan dalam hal ekonomi gitu ya. Nah, tapi juga dia bisa secara lingkungan bisa tetap memenuhi standar-standar yang ada gitu. Nah, do you have any comment maybe?
I think it goes back to understanding. I think it's understanding what green is, like what my topic was about. I think there's a lot of ways to look at sustainability, not just the green way, like your entire way of living. Because if you go a sustainable
Okay.
Connection.
Okay, she have a connection. So okay.
Hello?
Sorry,
Yes.
Ming. Yeah, you have. I think your internet connection like.
Yeah. So I think like because it's a bit like the wabi-sabi concept. It's like living simply, if you put it in that way. So you got to change your habits of living. If you change your habits of living, you don't consume so much. I mean, that's the whole idea of sustainability, is to use as little as you can, right? And so I think they will change people's habits. It will change the way you live, you know. So I think then you will be able to choose things that you think would suit you in order to, you know, live in this way. So then you start to option out a lot of things that you don't need, you see. So that is, I think, part of the process that people sometimes think that green is just choosing the right eco material. Or I think it's more than that. It's really like the whole system, like the behavior of your lifestyle, you know, and whatever you need is just required, and that's it. Yeah. But in order for designers to do that, because designers have the habit to over-design a lot of things, even though it's green. So I think it goes back to the question of really what is sustainable design is different in different contexts, I think. Yeah. Even in economics of scale, yeah.
Okay. I think this is the last question for Patateng and Ming. The question is relevant, related with the Ming topic about the adoption. Do you have any suggestion, or as an architect, do you have any suggestion how we can adapt this our changes now?
Yes, Ming.
How to adopt? The perfect, 100% perfect dream is to get the dream client, dream everything that supports your vision to doing this, right? But in any case, I think like what Papa Teteng said is about, I think, letting your client understand, not necessarily educate them, but I think you have to do it as you go. I mean, you really have to do it. You really have to understand that will bring them value. That's why I talk about the idea of value creation. Sometimes, right, it can be very irrational, the value. So once you be able to let them see the value of that it brings to them, especially to big developers, it becomes something that maybe monetarily, it brings them even something else. You know, not immediate profit, but you can sell a vision to them for a long term. You know, that is going to bring them there. It might work actually, and we do have clients in China that actually believes in that. And also because the whole world is shifting after COVID, this whole thing about sustainability is even bigger, right? So it's something everybody wants to catch on, but to actually pin it down, you still need people that's aligned with you, I think. So you do it little by little. It doesn't have to be on a very big scale, but it could be in any ways that you think can help you test ideas and push it out. Yeah.
Ming, as a closing, do you have how do you describe about sustainable living in one word?
Sustainability is being conscious and aware, like awareness of what you choose, and how to live,
Okay. Thank you, Ming, Patateng. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you very much, Patateng.
Okay,
Ming, thank you very much, Ming.
Okay, Ming.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.